in the parking lot, I'm in the chorus lot.
Hi everyone, welcome to another writing vlog. It is currently August 4th, which means I move in less than 20 days. I thought by the end of this month I'd have written 50,000 words in 7th Virtue. I'm currently at 30,000 words and I'm honestly really tired, so I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to make that goal. I've also been on basically a major writing hiatus for the last few weeks because I finished a chapter of Feeding Habits and honestly it was really excruciating to write and I needed quite a bit of time to just take a break. With that said, I'd like to revise my goals for August. First of all, number one, just take care of myself. Kind of softer goals would be maybe to look at that Feeding Habits chapter and then maybe write about 10,000 words in 7th Virtue, but we'll have to see. I have a pretty, I feel, low threshold for what I can accomplish at this point in my life. I feel like I'm pretty tired, but it would be really nice to take a look at 7th Virtue. I have been trying out Scrivener, so I might test out planning some stuff for 7th Virtue in Scrivener. I've been pretty open about my mental health being a little bit wonky the last few months. August really is no different, but I'm trying to make this month feel quieter and to really focus on what I can accomplish, which is taking care of myself. It's interesting because it's half the year has been up and I've done a lot of writing. So obviously I started 7th Virtue, which is a completely new novel, and it's already at 30,000 words. I've written so many short stories that I can't even remember how many I've written this year. Probably about 6 so far or more. Beyond that, I've also gotten new novel ideas, like for my novel, Call Me When You're Home, which is a young adult contemporary novel. I've done a lot with my writing. It just feels like I haven't, because time for me in my life, there hasn't been a linear progression of time because of the pandemic. I feel like a fish out of water right now, honestly. Hello everybody. Let's talk about what I've done in terms of writing because it was a lot. The day before yesterday, I wrote 5,000 words. I started writing at about 10:30 p.m. and finished up at about 2:30 in the morning. So it was quite a long writing session. When I was younger, a much younger teenager, I used to be a night owl. I would stay up really, really late. I mean, I still like staying up late now, but just for practical purposes, I've had to shift my sleeping schedule so where I will sleep at about maybe 10:30, 11, and I get really tired after that. I wasn't expecting or planning to write that late. It just so happened that when I started writing, I couldn't stop. It was one of the best writing sessions I've had in a really long time. I have been wanting to reach the goal of 50,000 words in my novel 7th Virtue by the end of August. That was the really big reach goal that I had made for 7th Virtue when I started the book in May, and I didn't think I could make it, but I'm already at 35,000 words considering the last 5,000 words I just wrote, so I only have 15k more. 15,000 words in a month for me is unheard of. Usually I write maybe about 5,000, usually. When I turned about 16, my drafting process slowed down so much. It takes me about a year and a half to finish the first draft of a novel, but 7th Virtue is going so fast. Basically, the chapter follows a completely different point of view character. So it's following Reeve. Reeve narrated the books 1 to 6 of Fostered, so I know her really well. She's one of my favorite characters I've ever created. She was really the only person I was writing with in terms of a first person narration for a majority of my adolescence. So it was really nice to meet her again, I guess, in sort of a narrative form, because I have written with her as an external character in the last few years since I finished up high school. Now I'm going to my 3rd year of university, so it's been a number of years since I've written in her point of view. But basically, I knew that I was going to write a scene where she'd kind of let Harrison into her head. How I'm explaining it is she kind of has the ability to be a human hard drive. If you give her your memories, she can keep them. And so similar, she's able to project them onto somebody else. And in that instance, it's Harrison who's our actual narrator. 7th Virtue is written in 3rd person present tense, if you didn't know. So we follow Harrison, but it's limited to his point of view. But I wanted to show an experience that she'd had because it would make no sense to do it in any other way. And so I thought it would be interesting to sort of use her magic to also kind of give myself another point of view to write in. And it was just so interesting. She's gone through a lot since the last time I wrote with her. And it's interesting to go back into her head and see what I missed in the years I haven't written with her. I remember when I was writing book 6 of Fostered, which is Rewired, and that was the last book I wrote in Reeve's head, and I probably won't write another one in her head. In that book, she was 19. I'm 19, but at the time I was writing Rewired, I was 16 to about 17. A huge thing that would have been in book 7 is like Reeve is 20, and that was like her thing. I guess in my head, someone being 20 when I was 16 seemed like a really big like milestone in life. I'm turning 20 in a month, so I feel like I have a better understanding of her psychology. To be fair, she isn't 20 in Seventh Virtue, but she would have been 20 in the book I would have written with her, but I never ended up doing it. And so I have a lot of empathy, I think, for this particular like time in her life. I really felt she was a friend. Reeve to me felt almost like a part of my consciousness when I was writing with her for books 1 through 6. I started writing book 1 a few days after I turned 13 when I was in grade 8, and then, you know, I finished writing the last book in her point of view when I was 17. She was somebody who was in my mind for a long time, but now that I'm writing in her head just for this one bit, like the rest of the book isn't going to be in her head, it's just for this one scene, it made me feel like I was seeing her as like a friend, as a human being, rather than somebody that was so closely linked to myself. We're not very similar. I have more similarities with her brother. We've talked about this. Me and Lonan are unfortunately like the same person. I even have a lot more similarities to Harrison. In a lot of ways, I was really struggling to feel like I knew her because I felt like she had sort of become a caricature in some ways of herself. And I think it was because she'd gotten too old for me like to grasp. Like despite Lonan and Harrison being older than her, I couldn't get into her mind because she'd gone to a place that I didn't yet understand. And now that I'm older, I'm starting to kind of get where she was, and I'm able to write with her a little bit better. She has this beautiful apartment that she's poured so much of her life decorating and constructing, because those are things that make her super happy. And I mean, I kind of lit it all on fire, so I'm so sorry, Reeve. Me being like, she's a beautiful apartment, it's gorgeous. Oh yeah, there's a fire that burned the whole thing down. I'm so sorry. I'm currently writing this scene where Foster, who is like my time traveler pal of the squad, he brings Reeve and Harrison back into the past to sort of save them from that fire, where they can actually revisit her home before it has burned down. And so I think it's like even emotional for her, and it's emotional for me because I know that when they go back to the present timeline, which they have to do, like I'm gonna write that today, it's not gonna be there anymore. It's all gonna be gone. I just feel so bad for her. I'm like, oh Reeve, man, like I missed you. Like you've been through a lot since we've not really been talking. It feels like that. It feels like we're friends who haven't talked in a few years, and now I'm catching up with her because, you know, I was writing so much with Harrison and Lonan, so I know exactly what they're going through. I feel that same, like we're all going through our crises, and I understood what they were going through, but I didn't really get what she was going through. And it's similar with Foster too, because Foster is a character I haven't written with in years, and now that he's back, there's this level of, I think, more maturity that I can bring to writing all of these characters that I couldn't fully understand at the time of me writing. I'm so excited to write today. I want to sort of do another maybe 5K word day, at least 2,000 words I'd like to get in, and it's really not that difficult with Seventh Virtue. The next scene that I'm going to write is back in Harrison's point of view, him processing the information that Reeve has opened up for him, which is vulnerable of her because she doesn't usually share things. So they're going to have probably a little bit of like a buddy friendship BFF, you know, I'm here for you moment. And then we are going to finally, I think, make our way into the first subplot of Seventh Virtue, which is heading to the Peterson estate. Hi everyone, so it's a few hours later and I'm finally sitting down to write. Things kind of got in the way. I had written, let's see, 91 words right after I finished the vlog, and now we're back at it. It's like 9:24 p.m. I'll start the sprint at like 9:30 and do 20 minutes like I usually do. I forgot like how like necessary like these mini, oh no, zooming in. I forgot how important like transitional kind of scenes are like in genre fiction, and it's not like unnecessary scenes, but it's more like connective tissue that I don't use as much. And it's not like I'm writing unnecessary content. It is necessary. It's just like little different bits that I kind of need in the book. Hopefully we can get to like 36,000 tonight. Hi everyone, it's the next day and let's talk writing because you know what? It was a little bit of a fail. Yesterday I was doing sprints. I didn't end up filming any because it was quite late when I started filming, but I really only did one sprint. In that time I had a phone call with my grandma, so I kind of stopped mid-sprint and then started again and then stopped mid-sprint and started again. Overall, it was about 20 minutes of writing. Yesterday I wrote, including like the 90 words I'd written before the sprint, about 800 words. I know I had wanted 2,000 words, and you know, word count doesn't usually matter to me. It was just like a bit of a bummer because the scene that I'd written, like, it just didn't go well. Sometimes in writing, not everything goes perfectly, and yesterday was just one of those days. I was writing this scene, which is quite transitional. I think in revisions, that's a scene that I'm gonna have to look at again because it does hold a like really like important emotional thread, but it's just not there. I wrote it terribly, so honestly, I'm just gonna move on. The next thing that I have to do is start my subplot with my boy Darren, and if y'all were here for like the Rewired days, you know who Darren is, aka like my only good character, my only character that actually has morals and that isn't a piece of shit is Darren, and I'm really excited to write with him again. The squad is heading to his like family's estate. His like family and his extended family, they live in this like giant house, and so they're going to their place. I think I might make it a road trip, so I might make the estate somewhere like maybe in Buffalo. The characters are mostly in Manhattan. I kind of want to get them out of Manhattan for a little bit. Let's see, like, go on a road trip. It's funny because a majority of like book 1 of Fostered took place in Buffalo, so I might read something and see kind of how they handle scenes that I guess aren't as like action heavy. It's funny though because the majority of the writing that I write is literary fiction that isn't very plot driven. You can have more plot driven literary fiction, but the literary fiction that I write, including Feeding Habits, is quite meditative. To me, it's a bit weird that I just can't like also do that in genre fiction because most of the scenes that I write usually aren't very actiony anyway, but now that I'm like kind of in a different genre, it's like a little more difficult. So it's been a few hours since I last filmed. Of course, that's how all my writing vlogs go. I have not written. I had to do a few things for social media, and so life got in the way, and honestly, I'm tired. It's like 5:45, and I should probably start writing now. I don't know. I just like yesterday, the session went so badly that like I feel demotivated, especially since the session before yesterday was so like prolific and I wrote so much. It's not that I'm feeling pressure. It's just like you feel the disappointment, I think, more easily when things don't go correctly, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. But the next scene I should write shouldn't be too bad. We'll hopefully get to like the fun stuff. I'm currently watching Lizelle Sambury's vlog on writing a novel in 8 days, which number 1, wow. Number 2, Lizelle said something that was really fantastic about like why she wants to do it, and watch her video so I don't completely butcher what she said and her reasoning behind it. In summary, it was mostly because like she just didn't want to like write a book for that long again, and I totally feel that. Feeding Habits has taken me, Jesus, I started it in April of 2020 and now it's August of 2021 and I'm still not done. Feeding Habits has been one of like the slowest books I've ever drafted. The number 1 slowest I think was Rewired. That one was like 2.5 years, and so this I think is like the second longest time it's like taken me to draft a book. I usually don't like care to draft books fast, but because Feeding Habits has taken so long, while I'm writing Seventh Virtue, I don't want to spend 1.5 years on this book. And to be fair, I didn't even think that Seventh Virtue was gonna be a book. I didn't think I was gonna ever like finish writing it, but I am because I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's taught me a lot about what I actually want to write versus what I think I want to write. I just don't want to spend so long dwelling on things that I don't like. I do that a lot more in Feeding Habits. Like I have a book for when I need to dwell and be angsty and upset about how writing is going. Seventh Virtue is not the place. So I'm just trying to like push through the scene. Like yesterday, I know what I wrote was not good. But like, I I can't dwell on that because I already did that for 1.5 years with feeding habits, right? And I just don't want to do it again. Obviously, the goal is not to finish Seventh Virtue by the end of August. It's just to hit 50K. And now I'm like at like 36K almost. We haven't even started the book and it's already 36,000 words. I truly forgot that that's like an aspect of genre fiction, because when I was 36,000 words into Feeding Habits, which by the way, I only hit like a few months ago, I wrote Seventh Virtue so much faster, like the first 36K, because Feeding Habits is just so dense and irritating to work through. I love that book, but oh my god, so much work. 36K into Feeding Habits, we've just finished Lonan's point of view, and we're probably at chapter 8 of the book, so like Harrison's second point of view chapter. Seventh Virtue, like we have barely scraped the waters. Like Reeve hasn't even like expressed to Harrison that she needs him to like come help save her brother or whatever. Like that's like the whole point of the book, and we still haven't even really gotten there. I was trying to remind myself, like, Rachel, how did you write, because I wrote genre fiction for the beginning of my career, how did you write this, like, and get it so long? Because it's been a struggle to get Feeding Habits anywhere near 50,000 words. Now it's like 63K, but before it was such a pain to get to that high of a word count. Thinking about like the first time that I wrote a novel that was considerably long, that was Fostered, which is book 1 of the series. Fostered was, I think, 87,000 words or like 84,000 words on the first draft. I wrote that book in 3 months when I was 13. To be fair, I think now like my inner editor just like slows me down a lot more, even though I write quite fast for Seventh Virtue. Whereas like when I was writing Fostered when I was 13, I wasn't, freaking out about certain things or like thinking logically about I would just like leave scenes half finished and I'd just go through a scene and it would be so dumb and I would just write it anyway and I wouldn't be upset about it. But I definitely feel like I'm closer to that writing Seventh Virtue in comparison to writing Feeding Habits. Feeding Habits has been one of the most difficult things, if not the most difficult thing I have ever written. I will say, yeah, the most difficult thing. And so it's nice to have a bit of reprieve, though I am kind of missing that book and I want to reread the chapter that I recently wrote. I explained what I did with Feeding Habits in my previous vlog, but I had to write a brand new chapter for those who didn't watch it, and I inserted it like into Harrison's point of view, and now I kind of like want to see how he was doing, because that chapter was really interesting. It had to do with the butterfly effect, and I talked about this in an ask that somebody asked me yesterday about like how I write character-driven narratives. Right now I'm working on a character-driven narrative, which is Feeding Habits, versus like a more plot-driven narrative. It's still very character-based, Seventh Virtue, but it is more plot-driven. And so thinking about how I write character-driven narratives is really interesting. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because of the butterfly effect thing that I mentioned in the previous chapter that I wrote for Feeding Habits. What I do is I pick like a theme or an idea to revolve the entire chapter around, and every single event that occurs is exacerbated by that theme and causes more scenes because that theme is so prevalent. So I'll link the post if you want to see what I'm talking about. And I broke down the outline of chapter 6 of Feeding Habits to show you how I wrote a chapter where basically nothing really happened, but there's still a lot of conflict. Hi everyone. So, I didn't write. It's a few hours later, like maybe 2 hours later. I ate and then I watched Criminal Minds. Today is not my day and we're just gonna let it happen. I'm moving in 13 days. I don't have time to get mad at myself for not following through. In general, I'm feeling pretty like just anxious and shitty about writing at the moment. Like I just don't want to do it. I'm sorry if the camera looks like really like choppy. It's because it's very dark in my room. I've turned off all the lights, literally. Oh my god, that's moving, but I just turned off the fan. Don't worry, my house isn't haunted. My camera is overcompensating, so that's why it might be a little jittery, but I don't know, man. I'm anxious, so that's why I turned off all the lights. Also, I was gonna write earlier and then my neck started to hurt. I started seeing a chiropractor this week. Dude, online school, I screwed up my back, or I screwed up my neck in particular. I didn't start feeling it until like this week. So I just had to use a heating pad for like 30 minutes. I could not write. Now I'm feeling, ready to go. I'm gonna do a 20-minute sprint. It's almost 8:05, so I'll start at 8:05, go to 8:25 and see if I can sprint until about 9 o'clock. Sorry that it looks so creepy. That's just gonna be what it looks like. So I wasn't super happy with the scene that I wrote yesterday. It felt like it took 25 hours to write, but I was probably only writing for about an hour. All right, everybody, I finished the sprint. I wrote 1,011 words in 20 minutes. I love sprinting for seventh virtue. Man, when it works out, it really works out. I'm really happy with the 1,000 words. I mean, it's not like the best writing of all time, but it's like gotten me through the most difficult part, which is the most important. So I feel like I've kind of gotten over the hump. Now I'm feeling comfortable to just kind of continue drafting to the part that I really want to write. So yeah, 1,000 words down. I'm just gonna take like a 2-minute break and then get back to another 20-minute sprint. Hi everyone, so it's the next day and let's chat how writing went yesterday because it went surprisingly better than I thought it was going to. So yesterday was just not my day, man. My back was hurting. This morning it's hurting quite a bit too, but you know what? We're trying to make it work. Yesterday it just wasn't it though. I was like low energy. I wasn't getting started at the times I said I was going to keep getting started. You know, typical things, writing's not working out. Yesterday, however, I did do 2 writing sprints. The first one that I filmed for you, that 20-minute sprint, I wrote 1,001 words, and the second writing sprint was another 20-minute sprint. That one I wrote 884 words. I got in about 2,000 words yesterday, which I'm really happy with because it's taken me in the manuscript to just above 37,000 words, which means today I am pretty confident that I can reach 40,000 words, or at least pretty close to 40K. I haven't actually started writing for the day. I have been doing other things. Particularly, I've been doing some stuff for YouTube. I just fixed up a script for a video that I need to film before I move, and I am currently over there exporting a video. It's just a book cover video that I've had edited for literal months. I just never recorded the voiceover. So I recorded the voiceover, I edited it, and now it's exporting. That's gonna go up this Friday, and then I should be able to schedule uploads for the rest of August if I end up, you know, on time and filming stuff. It's like 1 o'clock. I know I said morning, but it's definitely not. Oh my god, it's 1:38 p.m. So you know what? It's not the morning. My mistake. I thought it was the morning. I'm gonna make some iced coffee and then I'm gonna start the writing sprints. I already have an idea for the direction I'm going. Again, I'm almost at 40,000 words and very little has like actually occurred in this book. So, you know I have quite a ways to go, but I really want to get into more of the action. I've been thinking about antagonists. I'd like to do some more planning on like the actual magic system of the book. To me, it's like impossible to world build in Word. I don't know. I've used Word. I love Word. It's the only program that I write in. But I find it really difficult to do world building in Word because like they don't have like a super organized system. You have to create your own system. And so I downloaded Scrivener to test it out, and I'm really liking the card functions. I got Scrivener years and years ago on another trial thing, and I liked it then, but I never ended up using it. Now I really like it for world building, so I might do a little bit more world building today using Scrivener. So if you have tips on either world building or Scrivener, let me know in the comments. Hello, it has been another few hours and I still haven't started on writing. Today is turning out a lot like yesterday was, except I was doing things today. So today I did the video thing, like I said. Then I made lunch. I made this fantastic, if you know Mary's Test Kitchen, she has this recipe for vegan fried chicken, which is like tofu. And so I've been freezing and like unfreezing and refreezing the tofu for like the last 2 weeks because I keep forgetting to take it out of the freezer. And so I finally made it today and it was so good. I actually didn't realize I have an appointment today at the chiropractor. So I actually need to get my ass on writing because I gotta go in like 30 minutes and I still haven't done any writing today. And I wanted to hit 40,000 words, which means I have like 2,500 to go. So I need to get onto my computer. We have my nail polish that I was doing instead of writing. Honestly, this is just a normal day. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not very productive, and that's fine. And in my own right, I figure out how to be productive, but usually I procrastinate all day or I'm doing other things. So you know what? It's fine. Let me open my document because I need to hurry up and get on this. I've just checked the word count for 7th Virtue. We're at 37,225 words. And so I I got some ways to go today, guys. You know, wish me luck. I'm gonna do a 20-minute sprint. It's 5:05 p.m., so I'll start at 5:06, go to 5:26. All right, everybody, so sprint 1 is done. I wrote 808 words. I honestly felt like I wrote more than 800 words. I did write like an entire scene, and now I'm just kind of writing more travel. I think I'm gonna use this as like an opportunity to maybe like go into a flashback with Lonan, because Lonan's not really in this book, and that is kind of problematic considering he's like a main character. The whole problem I have with Lonan is he's currently not with the squad, which is kind of interesting because we're kind of like back in book 1 vibes. If you didn't know, Lonan only shows up in book 2 of Fostered, so I wrote without him for like a good 87,000 words, right? And so the original squad is really just Foster, Reeve, and Harrison, and then Lonan kind of infiltrates the group, first as like an antagonist, and then he ends up being like a anti-hero, and then he becomes kind of main squad. The problem is he's not really in this book because he is currently like captured by Reeve's crazy family, and also I guess it's his crazy family too. So the only way he can actually be in the book is through like memory. So he's been in a few scenes that like have been Harrison's like past coming back to him, but really he's not actually like in the book yet, and that's kind of a problem. So that's why I'm trying to like hurry up and get to a point, probably, I hope, before the 50,000 word mark where we can introduce him. I'm kind of worried that this book is going to be really long. Like yesterday I was talking to my sister. We were talking about the magic system, so how the magic system works. It's based off of the 7 like Catholic virtues and the 7 deadly sins. So each virtue has an accompanying sin. 7th virtue gets its name because the main family in the book is from the 7th roost, which follows like the guidance of the 7th virtue. So each family that exists in this magical world, there's only 7 magical families in this otherwise very contemporary world. They all follow the rules and kind of like the guidance of each virtue. Foster, who's part of like the main squad in this book, he is also from a magical family, but his family like died, like his immediate family. I think he has like extended family. I don't really know. He's part of the 3rd roost, and roost is what you call like the family that accompanies the virtue. And I was talking to my sister yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, I feel like talking about like what happened to Foster's family and kind of like the history of Foster's family, that's like a book 2 moment. And then I had to stop myself, and I was like, Rachel, are you kidding? Don't do this. I don't want to write another 7th virtue book. I wasn't supposed to write this book. Fostered was supposed to be a standalone, and then it got 6 books, 2 spin-offs, and then this one as well. So how many books is Fostered really gonna be? Currently, it's 9 books. I don't think we need any more. Anyway, we're gonna get to the part where we get to Darren's house. I'm gonna write kind of like a chill scene that goes terribly wrong at a convenience store, because I used to write tons of convenience store scenes back when I was writing like the main series. It's just really nostalgic to be back in the space where I'm writing basically exactly what I was writing when I was a kid. I don't know why I liked writing convenience store scenes. I think it was because I used to write and really love writing Fostered when my family went on road trips. So many times I wrote Fostered going to like New York City, probably why it's like set mostly in New York, because we would either drive through New York or we go to NYC or New Jersey. With that nostalgia came memories of like stopping over at like convenience stores at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I would usually like write scenes that took place at convenience stores, because I don't know, the vibes that I got while in the convenience store, I'd get like lots of ideas for a scene that could occur there. So it's just really cute. I really feel like 13-year-old Rachel, honestly. Oh, she was having so much fun writing convenience store scenes that were so unrealistic, where everybody just got into like major fights and they're all beautifully trained in like martial arts. One thing we should also do is a motel scene. You know what? I think I talked about this in one of my live streams, but one thing that has to happen in every single Fostered book, and has so far, is a motel scene. I have to have a motel scene. It was in book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's also been in Mothwork, and it's also been in Feeding Habits. We need to upkeep the tradition by putting a motel scene in here. I don't know. Again, I think it's the nostalgia of I loved writing Fostered when on these road trips where we would overnight as a family at like a hotel. A lot of my favorite scenes took place at like hotels, or at least I would see them as the hotels I'd stayed at, like of Fostered. Fostered. One of my absolute favorite scenes of Fostered took place in this hotel that we were staying at. It looked exactly the same because I was just inspired. I guess that's been like a thread. Convenience stores, but particularly hotels in Fostered. So you know what? Maybe I'll write a hotel scene. That'll be fun. Okay, we'll do it. All right, goodbye. I'm gonna do another sprint. All right, so I have to head out to my appointment, but I just finished the sprint and I wrote 938 words. We also got to the motel, so we're doing a motel scene, of course. All right, I gotta go. Hi everyone, how are you? It's been a while since I filmed the clip for this vlog, and I actually can't film anything else because I'm in the middle of moving. I'm about to fly to school in like 3 days, so I've packed away all the camera stuff, so we're just doing audio with some old footage I shot of driving through some back roads in Ontario. And I just wanted to come on here and say a quick goodbye because I probably won't be making videos for a while. I didn't get to prep content for this channel like I had wanted to, so this is probably going to be the last video for a while. I do have a lot of videos filmed, so if I do have some time to sit down and edit them, you will surely get that content. But let's do a quick writing update before we sign off for good for the rest of this month and perhaps through September. I have not been doing much writing. I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to reach 50,000 words as planned with Seventh Virtue. I'm currently just under 40,000 words in the book. What happened is what typically happens if you've ever done a cross-country move or a move in general. At first you have a lot of free time and then suddenly one day happens and you absolutely have no more time to do any writing. So I probably won't hit 50k even though I was pretty much on track to do it. Moving just took over, which is fine. It's a little disappointing because I knew I could have done it, but it's totally okay. I think I'll meet 50k sometime in September. So I'm almost at 40,000 though, so I'll definitely try to get that in at least on the plane. I'm literally only like maybe 800 words away from that. Something I have been doing is rereading book 1 of Fostered, which is Fostered. And fun fact, I've never actually reread any of my novels besides book 2 of Fostered. Fostered, I haven't read it once since I wrote it 7 years ago. I've tried, but from a really early age, I knew that book wasn't excellent. And because it lacked quality, it was difficult to stick through reading it. But I have been rereading it just because I wanted to rewrite some of the scenes that I love in the earlier series into Seventh Virtue. So that's a really fun thing I'm discovering with writing this new fantasy book. It's so different in genre from the previous genres these series have been, but because of that, I can actually rewrite my favorite parts of the earlier series into this book because there's nothing really canonically tying it down in any way, which is different for Feeding Habits because I'm still sticking somewhat to canon in Feeding Habits and in Mothwork. So I've been rereading book 1. It is not a great book, but I'm really proud of myself. Like, I'm reading it. I'm not gonna drag the writing that I wrote when I was 13. I'm almost done the book. I think I'm on like chapter 21. The last time I tried to reread it, I've gotten as far as like chapter 18. So this is the farthest I've been in rereading it, and I've definitely gotten to the best part of the book so far, the most interesting, the most intense, the most action-packed. I have not written my short story for the month. You can bet your button I will though. I'm determined. I've had a streak so far since January. I'm not about to let moving stop me from reaching this goal, even though it's going to be a little chaotic to get it in. That's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you hopefully sometime soon. Bye!